Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Got another video episode for you. So if you're not doing so already, make sure you head over to Spotify and watch this. You can always watch from the YouTube channel as well. But today we're going to talk about journaling. We're going to talk about what you need to do if you want to trade off of feel. And I can't believe I'm having this discussion here on the podcast, because if you know anything about me, we always talk about how you don't want to trade off of feel. But I know that a few of you out there want to do it. I feel like a parent having the conversation with my kid where it's like, hey, you don't need to do it. And we all know what it was. But if you're going to do it, make sure you do it safely. And that's what today's podcast is going to be about. And I was, it's December, right? Last day of December, I guess, when I'm recording this, and doing some cleaning around the office. And something I do at the end of the year, beginning of the new year, is I always do a little bit of continued education. So I did a few podcasts on my project this year. I do a little reminiscing, and something I often find, because I have about 4 or 5 of these laying around the house, is one of my old journals. And I never throw these away because I love looking back and just gaining perspective. Not only are there, a lot of very powerful notes, a lot of very powerful messages that I've written to myself in here, but there's a lot of technical clues in here as well. Stuff that I looked into in the past that, maybe I never follow through with, but if I ever want to look into it again, I have a great starting place. And I recommend that all of you guys keep one of these. And I got the inspiration for this podcast off of a movie the wife and I watched last night. I think it's called Love and Monsters. We're a little bit late on it. It might have came out 2020 or 2022, but it's called Love and Monsters. And I'll give you kind of a quick non-spoiler version of it. But essentially, meteor is coming towards Earth. We launch rockets at this meteor to blow it up. Blows it up and works. Unfortunately, all the chemicals that are in the rockets from, destroying the meteor drip back down to Earth, and now insects and animals have become frogs that are 20 feet tall, and centipedes that are 1 million feet wide. Basically, imagine every type of insect, spider, bees, just giant, and basically they've destroyed Earth, right? They've eliminated about 95% of the human population. The 5% that exists is living kind of underground in bunkers and whatnot. And they've been doing this, I think, for 7 years. And there's this guy in there who is pretty pointless in life, right? He is not strong. He can't fight. He's maybe a little bit smart. He's good at cooking. He wants to kind of prove his worth and wants to go above ground, which is a no-no, especially for someone like him, in order to see his long-lost girlfriend. So he goes above and he meets this other kind of survival couple that helps him out and tells him how pointless they are, and they kind of teach him the reins and stuff like that. And there was a really cool quote when he was asking his group, how do you know so much information about this? How do you know so much information about that? And he said, the best experiences come from making mistakes. And that's something that I live my life by. I can't tell you how many interviews or conversations I've had with trading where I always get asked the question, if you can rewind time and do things over again, what would you do different? And my answer is nothing, right? Because I believe that every kind of misstep I had, every type of setback I had, every frustrating moment and moment of doubt that I had has been accompanied by a powerful lesson, which has allowed me to get to where I am today. So I don't really believe in regrets or changing the past, rather ask myself the question, how can I use the past to push me forward in the future? And we can say the same thing about intuition, which ends up being feel in the market, how we can use our past experiences and our past mistakes to develop that trader's intuition and develop that feel. And we'll kind of talk about that at the end. But something that the guy had, the puny little non-fighter, non-survival guy had, was he had a notebook. I guess the one skill he had was he can draw. And what he started doing was, in his notebook, every time he came across one of these monsters, he would draw out the picture and he would take notes on it. So he'd be like, this monster can't smell, this monster can't hear, this monster can't climb, this is slow, this is fast. Basically little descriptions of it and how you could defeat it. And by the end of the movie, it ended up being a reference guide that everyone else that went out to the, above ground could use to help survive. And I thought it was very cool and very similar to journaling and trading. And there's really, we talk about journaling all the time, and there's really 3 types of journaling that we do. And the one I'm going to mention today really gets overlooked. There is the typical journaling that you hear of, which is like your data logging, right? Trade entry, trade exit, win, loss, blah, 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 right? That stuff's important. I shouldn't blah, blah, blah. But like that's the quantitative stuff that I think everyone does. The one that we talk about a lot here is the psychological journaling as well. These are, how did I feel when I was going into the trade? How did I feel the morning of the trade? How did I feel when the trade was in progress? How did I feel after the trade, right? These are the psychological notes that we're trying to take the kind of reflection about ourselves that we're doing in order to kind of figure out what those psychological triggers are. Because in order to kind of, I don't want to say remove, but avoid, I guess, put ourselves in positions to avoid those psychological mistakes, we need to first know what those psychological mistakes are, right? Again, a good example is like, growing up, I grew up in Philadelphia, PA, which isn't the greatest place in the world, right? We knew that there were certain neighborhoods you don't go into at certain times of the night. And if you went into those neighborhoods, you were more likely to get beat up, shot, murdered, mugged, whatever it may be. So obviously that stuff can happen anywhere on the planet, but it significantly lessens the chance of it happening if you don't put yourself in that position. And psychological mistakes are the same way. If you're someone that gets worked up when you feel, you see yourself in a trade and it's bouncing up and down, you're going all crazy, remove yourself from the situation, close your chart down, walk away, do something else. If you're not in that situation, it's a lot harder to make that mistake. The third type of journaling, this is basically the discovery type of journaling. You'll hear me mention all the time to the traders I work with, right? Play around in the sandbox. Always take time out of your trading day to play around in the sandbox. I tell the traders, load up a random chart, random time frame, random pair or asset, whatever it may be, and just scroll through and have fun. Scroll through and observe and write your observations down. And this is where these journals come in handy. Just like the guy in the movie who was writing down his observations of this monster moves slow, this monster moves fast, this monster can't see, this monster can't smell. Those things gave him the edge in fighting or running and hiding from said monster. What we observe in the market and its tendencies is no different. This is how we create our edge in the market. If we're looking at tweezer bottoms, for example, and to give you guys a visual, tweezer bottoms, just think of like, they're not technically 2 pin bars, but imagine 2 pin bars back to back where you have a candle that has we're in a bearish move. We have a candle that has a very long wick to the downside and the close is in the upper third. And the next candle has a very long wick to the downside and the close is in the upper third. So 2 low test rejection bars where it's an obvious kind of bullish rejection. The bears have been defeated, blah, 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 blah. If you come across that in the market, you're like, look at that. And then you see, hey, after that, we got a higher high, higher close and the market rallied for 5 days. Write that down. Write it down. This happened. Draw a picture of it. Write it down. Write what happened. And then flip the page. And then what happens is you do that for thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, thing 4, thing 5. And then every time you come back into it, you find it again in the market, update that observation. Same thing happened, same thing happened, same thing happened. Now you move to the part where, okay, now you've got a little bit of an idea. You're kind of forming this high hypothesis on when I see this, or if I see this, then I should expect that. Now you go to kind of like the demo to forward trading type of thing where you're starting to predict it. Now, go into a little market replay or keep an eye on it when it's live, see the thing, and then start telling yourself, okay, this is what I'm looking at. When I see this, I bet that the market's going to go up in the next couple of days. And then, observe over the next couple of days and see if you're right and wrong, and then start grading yourself on the accuracy of your prediction. This is a great way to develop your feel. And what you'll notice is that, and when you do testing and whatnot, now it's quantitative, you have numbers, you have stats, you have data on it, you can actually see if it has an edge or if it's random. So I would advise you don't trade off feel. I would advise that you take feel, discover what that feel is, quantify that feel, write down rules for that feel, and turn those rules into a solid part of your trading plan. But if you're someone that doesn't want to go through all of that, but you should, right? The least you can do is make sure you have the right observations, make sure you spend enough time making those observations, and make sure you practice so that you can be accurate with those observations. Then the next time you see that thing in the market, you can react in the safest way possible. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Let me know your thoughts on journaling. Maybe there's a type of journaling that you do that I didn't mention. If you're listening here on Spotify, there's a kind of a Q&A thing below that you can leave your comment. Write it in. I'll share it. That way more people can see it. And again, thank you for supporting the show. I don't say it enough, but you guys are massive in allowing this show to grow to one of the biggest trading podcasts out there. Looking forward to continued success in 2024, and I can't do it without your help. So like, subscribe if you haven't already, rate, review if you haven't done so already. And until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.